The housing market in Metro Vancouver continues to slow down. The Real Estate Board of Greater Vancouver says home sales in November were down 18% from October and down 42.5% from November a year ago. Joining us now to break down the numbers is Adil Dinani, broker and owner, Royal LePage West Real Estate Services. Adil, thanks for your time today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
People have been talking about a correction for years, but looking at the numbers, are you surprised it's this significant? Sales down more than 40% over this time last year.
Yeah, so we are seeing a meaningful shift in the market unfolding. I think it's important also, while these numbers were just released today, it's important to get some context on where we've been and where we are today. If you look at where we were in November of 2017, the condominium market, I mean, you remember the stories that were being printed. It was in runaway mode, and it was very challenging for buyers to enter the market. And now the narrative has shifted. It's in fact moved towards more of a buyer's market. In several of these segments, buyers have more of an opportunity to negotiate prices like they would have in a normalized environment. So there is some silver lining around this shift in the pace of the market.
What would your advice be right now to sellers? Are they being realistic with what they're asking for these days?
Yeah, it's a great question. We're having these discussions with sellers on a daily basis. What's positive in the market is when sellers price their homes aligned with today's new market, we're still seeing a fair bit of activity, and we're actually seeing homes sell once they're priced intelligently or priced reflective of the market change. There are some sellers who are still of the mindset of perhaps earlier this year or last year, with expectations higher than where the current market is. And I think what's going to be interesting to see is a lot of the listings that are on the market now, a lot of them have expiry dates towards the latter part of this year, so into December. And it'll be interesting to see if these sellers ultimately decide to pull their homes off the market or reprice their homes to actually help them achieve a sale. I think that'll be very indicative, the inventory overall, in terms of how the market performs in the first quarter of 2019.
So what is driving this decline here?
Yeah, I mean, markets are cyclical. I think that's important for people to understand. I think in Vancouver, we've been a bit spoiled, and we've been the beneficiaries of a very robust and strong real estate market for the better part of a decade. And so these adjustments in markets like real estate are normal, natural, and I would argue healthy for the long-term sustainability of the market, and to see prices come off a little bit and shift to more of a buyer's environment. I think that's definitely a positive thing.
How much of a factor, if any, do you think the empty homes tax has been on this decline?
So there's been a whole host of policies that have been thrown at the Vancouver real estate market. We've had the empty homes tax, like you aptly noted. We've had, at the federal level, we've had new stress tests. We've had the Bank of Canada move their prime rate 5 times since July of 2017. So factoring in all the compounding effect of these policies and higher rates, I would say the market has generally performed quite well. And if you look at where we were perhaps even 6 months ago, the midpoint of 2018, it was hard for a first-time buyer to get into the market because the environment was so fast-paced. And so with interest rates still at relatively attractive percentages and more inventory now to choose from, I would say the silver lining here is that buyers do have an opportunity to enter the market without any pressure.
What about condos and perhaps vacation properties? Are we seeing as much of a decline for those properties?
Yeah, I mean, this spillover from Greater Vancouver into more recreational markets like perhaps the Okanagan Valley or Vancouver Island is certainly prevalent. Where we've been actively working in both Kelowna and Victoria this year, and we are still seeing, on a relative basis, there's still more decline in prices and activity levels here in Greater Vancouver. You are seeing that carry over into those more recreational markets.
We talked about advice for sellers, so what about advice for buyers, and in particular first-time home buyers?
I think it's important to be prudent. One, align yourself with a great realtor. I think these are perhaps uncharted waters for a lot of first-time buyers. I think a lot of the millennials fall into that first-time buyer segment. and they've been traditionally been accustomed to a very hot real estate market, and it's usually been, see the home, visit the home on Friday, or the open houses, and then write the offer on Monday or Tuesday. I think it's important for their agent to now walk them through the differences in the shifts in the market and how to navigate those waters. I think it's a great time to be a buyer. I truly do. Historically, whenever we've had a correction in Vancouver's market, the market has shown a fair bit of resilience, and we've seen a natural rebound. I don't know if that necessarily takes place into 2019, but I think buyers have an opportunity or a window here to take advantage of some of the deals that are out there currently.
We typically see real estate activity pick up in the spring, so what are you expecting for spring 2019?
Yeah, we've got a Bank of Canada meeting tomorrow that we're awaiting the results of. I mean, now with oil prices coming off, it may put less inflationary pressures on the overall target. So I think the Bank of Canada may actually tip their hand towards holding interest rates. I think that'll be positive for the market into 2019. The next test to really see if this market, hits an inflection point or a turning point would be the spring. Traditionally, as you noted, it's a very active time in the market. And I think we're all watching very closely to see how the first quarter plays out.
Adil, thanks for your time today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.